people do films like that and submit them as their demonstration of their directing abilities and acting. Sometimes they really work. You guys know the movie Goodfellas? A friend of mine, how he got his start, he did a parody, he called it Scriptfellas. And it was about, rather than joining the mafia, it was about trying to sell your script in Hollywood. And he actually wrote a fairly, pretty good short about this. He actually convinced Paul Sorvino to appear in it as the character, as the mob boss, as the head of the studio. And this whole parody called Scriptfellas. And that from that parody he got an agent. He started directing television. His name is Sanford Booksaver. He was just the producer-director on Revenge this last year. But that's how he got his start, was his Scriptfellas. So be careful, you could end up in Hollywood and stuff like that. So I hope you don't mind. We're all looking for talented people, especially people from Holland. They bring all kinds of nice pharmaceuticals from their hometown. And they don't go to waste in Hollywood, you may have heard. But no, congratulations on that. Wow, who was here last night doing the hoedown? Anybody here doing the dancing last night here at the party? Yes, the people from Holland, the ones that don't do drugs. Yes, they were here as well. And also, it's nice to go after a nice short film as opposed to, my good friend Sebastian and all his, shall we say, cockroach jokes, cockroachet. But last night was a lot of fun, and somebody actually managed to find purple marbles, which I was surprised that they actually came up with them. I think some of them are over there, yes. Wow. And, I'm moving a little slow today. It's not my fault. I was overserved. I didn't ask. The fun part of the adventure last night was actually getting back to where we're staying. A nice cab driver said, "Oh yeah, I know that hotel." I said, "Okay, my Deutsch is not so good. Ich spreche only ein bisschen und here's no problem." And a couple of people who needed a ride, so we dropped one girl off, second girl off, and we went down toward our city where our hotel's at. And we're going. And I know it's about a 30-minute drive, maybe 20 minutes of coming here, but this guy's a little slower driver, no problem. And I realized he's lost. So we stopped one car, and he says, "Oh, I know for sure now, it's all good, all's good, Mr. Michaels, all's good, okay, great." So we're driving another 15, 20 minutes, alles nicht gut. We're lost again, so he stops another car, weighs the car down. They start speaking very fast in German, and I speak fast English, but that didn't help me. And so he gets directions again. So we go off, and we're driving, and about 20 more minutes go by, I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm so tired, and I have to be bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, as they'd say, and I'm getting really worried. So now, a third car, a Porsche, he pulls the Porsche over, and he gets out of the car and starts talking to the driver. The driver gets out, it's a woman, very attractive one. She says, "Come in my car, I work at that hotel, he'll never get you there." True story. So I get this woman's Porsche, and we go zipping around, and I was kind of hoping she's going to come in, but no. But she was very sweet. She actually got me home safe at about 4 a.m. this morning. I left here at 2. So it wasn't my fault. I hired a cab, but it was very sweet. She actually did work at the hotel. The manager came out and saw her. I was like, "What are you doing back?" He said, I found a straggler on the road. But that was my welcome into Germany. Mein Wasser. Entschuldigen Sie bitte. Schmeckt sehr gut, even mit bubbles. Anyway, so that was some of the adventures last night, and it's been great spending time here, and you fans have all been really, really polite and nice and asked a lot of good questions and stuff, so if you have any more, you can fire me at any point. But, as I say that, lo and behold, poof, ask and they will come. It's like a casting, I'm gonna pull my finger? No.
I have a question, because at the end of season 5, Adam was thrown in hell with Sam into the cage,
Yeah.
So we got Sam out, and then there was one time when Dean asked Bev to get Sam back, he also asked about Adam, and then it was just like nobody ever talked about him again. That's kind of me, like to leave you a little bit.
What happened to Adam?
Or are they ever gonna get him out of where they were planned?
Well, he was an asshole. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding, no. It just hasn't been really part of the storyline, you know. We've talked about it, but it hasn't really, we're not sure what bringing him back would do. I mean, how long would we bring him back for? Bring him back for 2 episodes, all of a sudden, you know, Sam, Dean, and Adam would drive around the Impala. Because, you know, driver picks the tunes, shotgun shuts his pie hole. And if we had a third, we'd have to come up with another line. And so, until we come up with another line, since we have a third guy in the car, we can't do it.
I should at least, like, get his soul into heaven or something where nobody ever gets it again.
Maybe when we're doing the series finale, which we hope never happens, but maybe we'll think about Adam again, but we have to come up with a new saying now for the car.
Thank you.
No, anytime. And we have another question. Fire away.
Yeah, first I want to thank you for the gag reels and for the funny episodes.
Oh, thank you. I'm glad you enjoyed them. I like changing channels a lot, and the French mistake.
Yeah, and I want to ask if there's any chance to get Trickster back. I mean...
The Trickster!
Yeah.
Richard Spate! Richard and I spent a lot of time together last week in Rio de Janeiro, and we actually had a lot of fun. If there's a handful of characters I would love to bring back, we've actually kind of killed off, and I have to confess he's one of them. If it was only my say, I'd bring him back for sure. But I'm not sure yet, but we'll see with Jeremy Carver coming back to the show this year. We'll see if perhaps, since he was around with more of the Trickster episodes, maybe he'll want to bring him back. But the good news is that we got our season 8, as you know. The bad news is that I've been to conventions, so I haven't started yet. So I don't know what they're talking about back in Los Angeles. I got a couple emails, but the writers are starting tomorrow. And I'll be on my way to England tomorrow, so I'll be a week behind. But I'd love to see Trickster back for what it's worth. And Richard Spade's fabulous, and I'd love to see him.
Yeah, it should not be too difficult because it was first Gabriel pretending to be Loki, but when Loki is just pretending to be Gabriel, to pretend to be Loki. Loki is a god. He fathered the Midgard snake and the Fenris wolf, and he gave birth to Odin's 8-legged horse Sleipnir by turning into a mare. So, for a god like this, it should not be difficult to fake his own death.
And pigs will fly out my ass, too. But no, that's a great explanation. I wish I understood it. It was great. Didn't understand a word of it, but it was great. Mr. Fizzles, you know, DJ Qualls, who when he came to Vancouver, some of you might have read, got beat up by the police because he's such an opposing man at 6 foot tall and 125 pounds. He actually tried to break up a fight, and the cops grabbed him and threw him to the ground. It just goes to show you, when you're 125 pounds, don't even try to break up the fight, just point. Help. But he's actually going to start doing conventions, and I happen to have it on good authority that we just made an extra missile of fizzles for him to take with him when he goes out, so.
Hi.
Hello.
Is there a possibility that Balthazar is going to come back?
Bring back Sebastian. Give him more ammo? More episodes to come talk to you guys about? You think I'm crazy? How many penis jokes can I take in a year?
I don't know.
How many can you take in a year?
A lot. He's one sexy beast.
Yeah, but you just said you could take a lot of penises in 1 year.
Anybody but his.
Anyone but his. You know, do you ever hear the phrase walk into a propeller? No, anyway, you never know. It's with a new bunch of writers coming in. Bob Singer's staying with the show, obviously, and Dandridge back, and We're certain. Pardon? Oh, Ben, we wouldn't let Ben get away. You think we're crazy? But who knows? Like I say, it's a great character. He actually, I did a whole series. I worked with Sebastian for a whole year on another show. So Sebastian and I go way back. He came in originally for a much smaller role, only one episode, and we sort of talked about it, so let's wait and hold him for something to be multiple episodes. So we sort of had something in mind for him down the road bigger. So, you know, the rule on our show is nobody ever really dies in our show.
Nothing is impossible and supernatural.
Pardon?
Nothing is impossible and supernatural.
No, nothing is impossible. That's what the beauty is. It's wonderful. We can do all kinds of crazy things and fun, including maybe someday bring back Balthazar, but I don't know if we're going to do it yet. But if we do, it'll be a surprise.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. I think it'll be a surprise to Sebastian, too. Hello. Hi, I'm Jim. You are?
Huh?
I'm Jim, and you are?
Melanie.
What'd you call me? What did you call me? Oh, Melanie. Okay. Hi, Melanie.
Okay. So my question is, why did you take Jensen and Joe for the role as Sam and Dean and no other actor?
Well, you know, first of all, I have to confess, I wasn't with the show at the pilot, so that would have been Eric Kripke, but I've spent some time with Eric. Part of his original pitch for the show is slightly based on Star Wars. True story. You have Han Solo, and you have Luke. Who is Han Solo? That would be Dean. Luke Skywalker. Sam. And that was part of his pitch. They were looking for a team like that. Now, you know, Jared had already had a long run on Gilmore Girls and stuff, so he was more of a known entity at the time in the prime time, although Jensen was a working actor. He had done a lot on Smallville, he'd been on soap operas, which I think, did any of you catch him in the soap opera in A French Mistake? Okay. But, you know, like I say, I wasn't there, so I can't tell you exactly what was said in the room, but I'm certainly not surprised, because oftentimes you will test people together. You'll test maybe, you know, say Jensen Ackles with Jared Padalecki and 4 other actors and do all kinds of combinations. And I know they sort of did that with this show. And sometimes just the 2 guys together, just once you see them interact, you see the magic, and that's what happened here. They saw the way those 2 interacted together. And they were kind of good looking, I thought. Kind of tall. But yeah, they had good chemistry together, and I think that's really what helped seal the deal.
Thank you.
Thank you. Hello.
So I was thinking that you guys have done such a fantastic job over the years, realizing some pretty incredible ideas. But I was wondering, what was like the most insane or maybe most awesome idea that ever landed on your table that was never, you were just not able to realize for whatever reasons, like budget or...
Oh, what was the, I mean, is it a whole script or a whole idea?
More like a super awesome idea.
Well, I mean, I'm trying to think. What's the biggest thing we said no to? Is it what? Something on my shirt? In the back? No. I mean, sometimes they just think, you know, they write very big episodes that we just functionally, you know, we just can't do. Even with the help of electronics, you know, in the CGI world, you know, they wrote them into Scotland for an episode, so we know we couldn't go to Scotland, so we did it electronically. But by the time we get it, you know, up to Vancouver, it's pretty well been reined in. I mean, I told that story about one of the episodes where they wanted us to originally with the dragons to take them out of the water, and that was November, where we couldn't be in the water in November without seriously injuring an actor with hypothermia. So that became an airplane instead. It happens so regularly, it's hard to point out one really big one, because if they really came with a really big idea, I'd call up laughing. And one thing they did do is when we had the Olympics, the Winter Olympics in Vancouver, one of the things and Eric was still at the show, and I told Eric, I said, listen, while the Olympics are here, just make sure there's nothing that needs a big hotel ballroom or a hockey rink, because we can't get near anything. So we get the Something of the Gods. What was the name of that episode? Thank you. So I'm reading that script, and it has a giant hotel ballroom. And Jerry Wannick, production designer, and I, we get an outline form from Eric. So we put Eric on the speakerphone in the conference room and say, hey Eric, that's really fucking funny. Olympics, he wants to get a giant hotel room, it's not gonna happen. And he goes, oh no, I'm serious, guy. I said, you're serious? So what we ended up doing, we found couldn't get a hotel, because you couldn't get a hotel room within 50 miles of Vancouver. So we found this fairly large room, not quite, probably about half the size of this room, and it was a dance studio, but it had been closed down as a dance studio, sort of a private club. So we went and scouted it, and Jerry and I said, well, it's not quite what we had in mind, but I guess we'll make it work. So we bring back, a bunch more guys, Russ Hamilton, the movie god, and Jerry, and a bunch of us going, we start looking around, and we discover what kind of club it is. We find little signs like, club rules. No means no. Only couples upstairs. Please no lube on the furniture. Multiple wives, okay. Group sex encouraged only upstairs. Please practice safe sex. Mark your bottle with your alcohol. We realized we were in a group sex club. And let alone you see the things we found when we moved the furniture out. But the Hammer of the Gods in that big ballroom, that's a group sex club. True story. They found amazing things in between the couches, and they wore gloves, and it was funny, the people who ran it tried to hide it from us. We're like, we already found your rules, we know what it's about, it's okay, but we needed the hall. But that's what that was ended up being, and that was a tough challenge.
Thank you.
Okay, next.
Hi. When I first read about the idea behind the French Mistake, I was wondering if any of the actual crew behind the camera would act on camera, like Kripke or Bob Singer.
Oh, we wanted to.
Yeah, that's exactly my question. I know it didn't happen in the end, but did you even think about it? Was it an idea you just decided not to, or was it never ever?
Well, actually, I wanted to play myself, and I'm actually already a member of the Screen Actors Guild, so I was already in the union, so it should not have been an issue. But Warner Brothers has a policy against doing two jobs at the same time. So Warner Brothers policy would not allow us to be producer and actor in the same show. And part of what that is they don't want when they do labor negotiations with the unions, they don't want the union to come to Warner Brothers and say, yeah, but you guys gave yourselves jobs and took jobs away from other actors.
But what about Jensen directing an episode while being an actor? Wouldn't that be the same thing?
Yes. Jerry and Jensen get a couple of their own rules, see? That's how this works. But as directing, they actually will look the other way for that for us. We actually apply for waivers. We actually get waivers from the unions to do that. But there is one person who did play himself, and that was Lou Bolo, the stunt coordinator, and they came to me and didn't want him to do it either, and I said, well, he's already on an actor's contract. That's the kind of contract he works on every day. And they said, oh, hold on, Joe, we'll get back to him. Okay, Lou can do it. So Lou Bolo was the only one that got to play himself. The guy who played Cliff was originally supposed to be me, play me, and we had someone else picked to play Cliff part, and then they put the other guy in Cliff's part, and Sanford Garwin ended up playing me in the show. But it's very odd when we were sitting on the set, I was sitting there with Bob, and there's Brian Doyle Murray, who's Bill Murray's brother, playing Bob, and I'm watching a guy play me, and sitting around a table talking to Sarah on the phone. There was something surreal about that. It's a lot of fun for Jerry and Jensen. I think one of the funnier moments was when we revealed Genevieve. He's like, Ruby? But you married fake Ruby? That was pretty frickin' funny, I thought. But there were so many fun moments in that. And it was a brilliant script by Ben Edlund. And some of you here explain what this French Mistake is? Or do you know what one is? Okay, good. I don't go through that again. We already did the group sex club, so we're done with that one.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi. We were wondering, because we watched the last 2 episodes, and I was like, no, they will bring Kevin Tran back, because remember last time when there was a kid person around that we thought could be actually be a help to fight Lucifer, the Antichrist. He never brought him back. He was introduced with big episode, and then he was gone. And I'm like, okay, we have the Antichrist. Maybe he can help and not only surf in Australia or something. What was that about? Was that an idea to bring him back?
No, I don't think we were really planning to bring him back. You know, when we hired Osric to play his role, we knew it was through 3 episodes. So, because certain times when you audition certain roles, certain actors don't want to come in for maybe 1 episode or 1 small part. They'd rather hold out for a larger one. So when we tell the agents we're looking for somebody, we'll tell them this is a big part, it's going to be in 3 episodes. Then other actors with much more experience, they all want to come in and read for it. But, you know, Osric going to be in 3 episodes, and he won't die.
Okay, so the Antichrist was never an option to help
No.
him.
No.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, Jen.
Hello, how are you? Oh, listen, about that stuff you left me in my hotel room last night. You want me to bring it over or just burn it?
Burn it.
Okay, I'll burn it. You have a question?
Yeah, I have a question. It has been probably asked like 1,000 times, but will we see Dean's necklace ever again?
Who?
Dean's necklace.
Oh, the amulet. Yes, indeed. I've been hearing that a lot, particularly in Germany. You guys really like that amulet? I'll ask. I know where it is. It's downstairs in the lockup. I go get Chris Cooper, get the keys. He opens up the safe. This big safe opens up, and there's the amulet and all the Colts and stuff. It's really cool. You should come. You can't come by, sorry. But there's no plans for it right now. But you know, never say never.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
Hello.
Sounds like an episode title, huh? Shoot.
I'm not sure if you can actually answer this question or if it's confidential.
Then why are you going to ask it?
Because it's really...
You're trying to trick me?
No,
Get me
I'm not
fired?
trying to- no, I'm not trying to get you fired.
Okay.
I promise.
Okay.
I just wonder, I've always wondered, like, how expensive is 1 episode? And what do you do when, like, the budget is exploding? Has it ever happened? And what do you do then?
Well, you know, you have to think about the season in terms of the entire year. Some episodes, they will vary and cost hundreds of thousands of dollars difference. So it's sort of like The Price is Right. So long as you don't go over at the end, it's kind of okay. But the studio will get very nervous if you're running deficit, you know, and all of a sudden you build up $300,000 in overages. Now that we spend $300,000 more over on another one, they're not really happy when I call them up and say, hello, Warner Brothers, we're $600,000 over budget, is that okay? That's usually about the time that, what the fuck are we paying you for then? So yeah, as long as in the end though, and you plan it out, if you're under at the end, it's okay. But you do have to plan. As soon as we know at the end of the year we have big episodes, we always know this couple of first episodes will always be very expensive. And then we get ones with smaller casts, less locations, and try to keep the costs down.
Okay, is that also the reason it's being shot in Vancouver instead of the US? Because
Yes.
it's cheaper?
Yes, much less expensive with tax incentives, you know, from the Canadian government, which is in the millions of dollars per year rebates back to Warner Brothers. So we couldn't do this show as big as it is in the US right now, at least not in Los Angeles.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Jim, I have to stop.
Oh, can I tell one story then?
I have to stop you.
I got one joke.
Go on.
Okay. I had this dream last night. It was about Jensen. Not that one. But I dreamed, you know, that I died, and I went to a purgatory, and I was going to spend some time there. Fortunately, Shepard was his day off, so he wasn't there. But you know, they came to me and said, "Well, Jim, you know, you were pretty good most of the time, but you're gonna have to do some penance here. So you see this troll-looking thing? Yes, you're going to have to do whatever this troll says for 2 years." I'm like, wow, that's a pretty bad penance. I mean, do I have to even like, you know, oh yeah, oh God. And well, things could be worse. So a couple days go by, and I see Jensen. And Jensen has one of the most beautiful German girls I've ever seen in my life on his arm. I'm like, what the hell? What's going on here, Perker? What kind of joint are you running here? And so I said, Jensen, good to see you. She's lucky you. He's like, he smiles. So I go back and say, what happened here? How come, you know, I got this, and, you know, Jensen's a pretty good guy, but why does he get this beautiful German girl? He goes, well, you don't understand, sir. She's doing her penance. Thank you very much.
Ladies and gentlemen, Jim Michaels. Right, a couple of quick things before our next stage panel.